Hello and welcome to Decoding Attachment Styles. Today we're talking about how you can hold an avoidant attached person accountable if you don't know how to do that already. You see, many of us believe that holding an avoidant attached person accountable means talking to them like they're an idiot or like we're their parents. What we want to remember is that none of us really liked it when our parents or anyone in authority held us accountable. But that accountability did not sound like accountability, and I'm going to explain exactly what I'm saying. We rebelled, and worse, you ignored and avoided as much as you could. And yes, you did that too, my anxious attached friends. So what's going on really is that most people are online telling us that we need to hold an avoidant attached person accountable, and that is true. However, what we think is holding them accountable is actually coming across to them as we're in control or we're trying to control them. So before we get into sorting out this messy issue and highlighting what an ultimatum looks like, what the avoidant hears, and how we could do accountability right, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button so that when we have new episodes out, which is going to be very often in the new year, you're going to be the first to get them. Let's get into the topic. First, we're going to talk about the confrontation. What we think it is cornering them for the talk the second that they seem distant. Thinking that if we can just explain our pain a little louder, make them understand, then they're going to snap out of it and things are going to get back on track. What it actually is to an avoidant is that it feels like an ambush. Their nervous system will read anything too intense as danger, which triggers them into wanting to run away, to withdraw, to shut down. It's not going to help them to reflect. How we can actually hold them accountable is by pausing and then reframing. Give them a heads up. You could send this by text or email. You can say something like, I've been feeling a little disconnected recently or disconnected lately. Can we find some low pressure time once a week and do a check-in? What this is going to do is it's going to remove any form or feeling of threat, of any sudden confrontation. Because usually what happens is we show up and it's like, hey, I need to talk to you. This is what's been going on. And it feels like an attack. So when you give that little heads up, it makes them feel less threatened and it allows them to also be prepared for when this real conversation actually happens. Let's talk about another one, the calling out. See, what we think is that by listing every time they have failed, something like you've forgotten my birthday, you didn't show up for my family, you didn't ask about my day, you're always running out, we believe that shaming them will create some change, will make them want to change. And what it's actually doing is that it's touching on the avoidance core wound. A blame list is only going to confirm their deepest fear, which is, I'm a failure at relationships. And what that is going to do is not make them want to be around you. They're going to shut down or they're going to disappear to escape that feeling. Not escape you, they just don't want the feeling. So they're running away from the feeling. So what can you do? In your calm moments, what you can say is, I've noticed that when life gets stressful, we tend to drift apart. And that leaves me feeling lonely. I'm wondering if we can create a simple stress signal so we don't lose touch. What you can do when you're listening to my podcast is get a pen and paper and you can write down these suggestions and send them as they are in a text message until you get a hang of how to navigate this language. You get to copy it and send. It's kind of like, if you're texting a friend who speaks Italian and you don't speak any Italian, you're probably going to go on ChatGPT and you're going to ask, how do I say, hello, how are you in Italian? And it's going to tell you what to say, and you're going to copy, paste, send it until you start to use it so often that it becomes a part of your vocabulary. So that's my suggestion here. You can say something like, I've noticed when life gets stressful, we tend to drift. That leaves me feeling lonely. I'm wondering if we can simply create a stress signal so we don't lose touch. And what you're doing when you send a message like this is you're addressing the dynamic together and not putting them on trial. You're not making them out to be the bad guy. You're saying, let's work on this together. I'm a part of this too. Let's address another issue, the demand for immediate closeness. We think that it looks like, okay, if you don't love me, you'd want to spend, or if you do love me, you would want to spend more time with me every free moment we can have. Or you might say something like, why don't you ever say how you feel? What's going on here is that we equate constant closeness with safety. What is actually happening is that to the avoidant attached person, relentless closeness feels suffocating. It's like losing their independence, because if they've got to spend every waking moment, available moment with you, then they feel like they don't have the space to do anything else. Or if you're complaining when they have to do something for themselves, then they're going to be the ones walking on eggshells the next time they want to do something, even if it's going to the gym or hanging out with their friends or going out with their family members, having dinner with their family members. When they believe that you're sitting there waiting for them, they're going to start feeling tense when they're out doing an activity on their own. And so they feel uncomfortable in the relationship. So what it's actually doing to them is it feels unsafe and it feels like they're being consumed. How you can hold them accountable is you can trade demand for a deal. You can say something like, I know you need your solo time, and I respect that. I also need some reliable together time to feel connected. Can we figure out a balance that doesn't make either of us feel too stretched thin? So what we're doing here, we can all feel stretched thin. The reason that the anxious attached isn't feeling that way is if an anxious attached person says to an avoidant, hey, I'm hanging out with my friends, the avoidant does not get upset about it. In many, many cases, not all cases, in many cases, the avoidant attached person will say, okay, have fun. There are some fearful avoidant attached persons who will feel neglected. They can be a little needy and clingy as well. They might have an attitude, but what you're dealing with there is an emotionally unaware, someone who is not emotionally strong person, a person who is highly insecure and reactive in the relationship. And those are tricky relationships. So what I'm giving you advice on here will work for a fearful avoidant or an avoidant attached person who is emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent. If you're getting into a new relationship with any avoidant attached person, emotionally aware or not, emotionally intelligent or not, you want to jumpstart this behavior now, so that you can get them used to how you show up in relationships and what it is you're expecting in relationships. And you can also, from time to time, people will ask me, okay, how can I start this kind of behavior since we've been dating 6 months in or a year in? Of course, you can always hit a reset button. You can always give yourself the permission to announce your changes as you grow. I don't mean verbally announce it, but show people that you are open to changing who you are and who they're seeing right now may not necessarily be the person that they're going to be stuck with for the rest of their life, because you're not going to tolerate nonsense. That's what this means. So you could change these behaviors. If you've never learned how to hold someone accountable in the past, you can start doing it now. When we say to someone that, look, I get it, you need your time, I also need togetherness, what you're doing is you're holding them accountable to the relationship's needs, not just your own. You're telling them that the relationship will not grow unless the two people, you and that person, are coming together and spending some time. Let's move on to another one. The prove you care test. We think that withholding affection or giving the silent treatment is going to make them chase us. So we wait to see if that's going to happen. We think that if they really cared, they'd fight for me. What this actually is, it's game playing, really confirms to an avoidant attached person that relationships are unstable and manipulative. Their response isn't to fight. It's to retreat completely. They see this as drama and they want no part of it because they know what you're doing. How to actually hold them accountable? Be direct about your needs, not indirect with testing them. You can say something like, when you go quiet, my anxiety spikes. I need a simple sign like maybe a thumbs up to mean I'm okay. I just need to know that you need some space. Can you do that? Now you're asking them a question. This clear but low effort request that respects both of your anxiety is going to help them see that you're a person to be safe with. One, because you're going to speak up when you're not comfortable. You're not going to throw a tantrum. You're not going to have any passive aggressive behaviors. You're not going to be testing them. And so they start to feel a little safe in the relationship. Public shaming. This is something many anxious attached persons will do to their avoidant attached partners. And they think it's justified because they are at their wits' end with this person. What we think it is that we think that making a comment in front of friends like, yeah, good luck with getting him to make plans, we think that social pressure is going to motivate them to step up. And what it actually is that public criticism is deeply humiliating. It doesn't inspire change. It inspires resentment and reinforces their belief that they're better off alone, where no one can embarrass them. How can you hold them accountable? If you need to address a flaky behavior, do it one-on-one. You can say something like, I felt really let down when you canceled last minute before the party. In the future, can you give me more notice so that I'm not stuck explaining your absence? This protects their identity while clearly stating the consequences of their actions. What's the consequence? Well, the next time they do something like this, even after you've told them that you need a heads up, what you're going to do is now let them earn that trust again. You're not going to make an excuse for them not showing up. You're not going to address it with them. And when they meet with those friends or family members in the future, whatever those family and friends have to say about them just suddenly bailing, that's on them. That's something they have to live with. We also think that holding them accountable is having let's fix it lecture. We think that sending them articles on attachment theory and saying things like, you need to do the work on your avoidant attachment style is going to be insightful alone, and that's going to fix the problem. What it actually is doing is that this unsolicited analysis and diagnosis feels condescending and invasive. It makes them feel like a project and not a partner. And they're going to reject the diagnosis. They're going to look at you and say, oh, really? You think I'm the problem? Why don't you look in the mirror? Why don't you look at how needy and clingy and desperate you are? That's what's going to happen here. It becomes this big fight. It's like, oh, you're pointing out I'm the flaw? Look at you. Look at your behavior. Look at your need to people please and get everybody liking you because you think you're all that. That's what they're thinking. How do you hold them accountable? You focus on shared solutions and not their flaws. You can say something like, I've been reading about how different people handle stress, and it makes me realize we might just have different needs when we're overwhelmed. Could we talk about what works for each of us? You also want to talk about what works for you. And if what works for you is, I need to sit with my partner and have my partner tell me how much they love me, that is self-validation that you need to work on. That is your self-love. What your need as an anxious attached partner might be is, hey, from time to time, maybe once every 2 weeks, I might need a little bit of reassurance. So I may just ask you, like, where do you see this relationship going? Do you think you could be patient with me and just remind me of where you're at emotionally? Now, if you're doing this every day, it becomes annoying. It becomes too much for the other person because now they've got to make sure you're always happy, you're always reassured. And that is not comfortable for any human being. Even an secure attached person is going to have a conversation with you after 2 days of doing that. And they'll say, hey, I know you need reassurance. This is becoming too much of a pressure for me. Do you think you might be able to go to therapy and work through this on your own? So if you think that, a lot of times people are saying, oh, if I could just find a secure attached person, I'll be absolutely fine. In a way, it's kind of insulting to the secure attached person to think that they're going to tolerate just about any and everything that comes their way. Secure attached people will leave an avoidant attached person just as they would leave an anxious attached person. When they see that the avoidant or the anxious is leaning on them for all of their emotional needs, majority of the time, they're going to say, this is just too much for me. It cannot fit into my life right now. I've got many things happening in my life. And I can't be a babysitter to somebody's emotions. I need to leave. I can just say that this person is not in alignment with me and who I am and where I'm at right now. They're wonderful and all. I've got to let this go. So they walk away from relationships. They don't stay and tolerate everything. Okay, I know that's painful to hear, but they do not tolerate everything. They're good at setting boundaries. Let's talk about another how we can hold them accountable mistake. We generally have all or nothing ultimatum thing going on. We sometimes say things like, if you don't change, I'm leaving. If you don't stop talking to that person, I'm out of here. We use the threat of abandonment as a last-ditch effort to force a breakthrough with them. We hope that by saying this one thing, they're going to get that we're serious and we're not tolerating this and we're out of there. We really aren't. We've not set the boundary with ourselves. We've not said, you know what, I'm not tolerating this. I don't have to communicate anymore. I'm out of here. We're still hopeful that they're going to change their behavior and we're going to be able to be with them. We're hoping that they're going to make our lives easier. What they're hearing is, this ultimatum is actually a relief. It's the final confirmation that relationships are too hard and that leaving is easier than trying to meet impossible demands. It often triggers the discard for them because you come to them and you say, if you don't do this, I'm out of here. They're like, what the hell? Who the hell are you to tell me what to do and what not to do? And not only that, they wonder, when is this going to stop? Sure, if I don't do this, you're going to leave, so I'll do it. And then you come to me next week. If I don't do this, you're going to leave. So what then? So they start to look at you and they think that, okay, you know what? No, this person's trying to tell me what I can and can't do. And that doesn't work for me. And this is where the discard comes from. This is where it's like a, hell no, I'm out of here. I'm done. You don't get to tell me what to do. And they leave. How can you actually hold them accountable? You can set your boundary, not an ultimatum, a boundary. You can say, I can't. I is the boundary. What protects me? That's the boundary, not a you. You is control. I is boundary. I take care of me. I can't be in a relationship where I feel like I'm constantly guessing where I stand. I need more consistent communication and follow through to feel safe and secure. Can you ask me, what are you willing to commit to? It's kind of like a job interview. I need this salary and these work projects so that I could feel a part of this company. What are you willing to do for me? And then when the other person responds, I now get to decide on if this is okay for me or not. What this is really doing is that it is laying out what you need in order for you to stay, and then it puts the ball in their court on how they're going to show up. And it lets you walk away with clarity if they won't. It's not a threat. Walking away isn't going to be a threat, but it's a consequence. It's, again, like going for that job. If the person in front of me says, okay, I'm sorry, you're asking for 20,000, but we won't be able to give you more than 15,000, I get to decide, am I going to stick around with 15,000? Is that comfortable for me or not? Nobody's at blame. Nobody's being threatened. So I could easily look at that person and say, okay, thank you for letting me know. I won't be able to accept this offer. I wish you all the best in the future, and I move away. That's how we set a boundary. It's not an ultimatum. Ultimatums make people shut down and walk away right away. I love doing these podcasts for you. I love hearing from you guys when you reach out and you say that something I've said somewhere helped your relationship. So always feel free to reach out and let me know how these episodes are helping you. You can follow for more on the signs of why your partner can sometimes act like an idiot and what you can do about it. There is tons of no fluff relationship insights either here or on my social media accounts. LinkedIn, we've started curating information for that platform for professionals who are struggling with their personal relationships, because a person can be super successful at work, but they have no clue how to deal with this person that they absolutely love at home. So LinkedIn is for that if you want to follow me there. Share this with your friends, and don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Until the next time, I'm your host, Annalisa Bahadur, and this has been another episode of Decoding Attachment Styles.